What's up? What's good? It's the Soundcloud reviewer back after a long hiatus. Alright, I'm not gonna beat around the bush here. I know what y'all are thinking. Where have you been? And to keep a long story short, I just got burned out. It was a combination of just being burned out, a lot of personal stuff, job. That all came together to a point where I really couldn't focus on my YouTube channel to the point where I wanted to make videos of the same quality I wanted to, and I couldn't really be sitting down listening to these albums, finding new artists. So I had to deal with some stuff, but I'm at a point now where I feel like I'm ready to get back on that grind, make good content for all of you. And I quickly just want to say thank you, for the artists who've reached out to me, for the artists who've said that my advice has helped them, for the artists who've applied my advice. It's been nice to see you grow and also try to form a relationship with you guys where nothing bad happens, because no one has really came at me for anything. No one's angry at me, which is a great thing, because I realize it can be hard for people to get their work critiqued, especially when I do it negatively, which I have done sometimes, but everyone's taken it well, and it's really just made me happy that there are people out here who really want to improve their work and listen to me. And even though I ain't, the greatest reviewer in the world, even though I ain't got the greatest credentials, they still feel like my opinion matters. And, I'm happy to give my 2 cents, and it really helps me a lot, spiritually, mentally, to know that I'm helping these people out, making them feel better about their work, maybe helping them improve. And it's a great thing. And the fact that people are also watching these videos, hopefully I'm getting some new eyes on some artists who are coming up. It's a great experience, and this channel has been great. It hasn't been around for long, but hopefully I can strengthen the community that's already been really strong and, get to a higher point. So thank you to everyone. I was ready to come back a few weeks ago, but now I'm at a point where I was like, if I'm going to come back, I'm going to come back strong. And I've decided I'm going to do that in a big ass video. There's going to be a long video, lots of reviews in it, filled with content. A lot of artists you've seen before, a lot of new artists I'm going to try to introduce you to. It's going to be a giant compilation video, a bunch of reviews, a bunch of bigger projects, smaller projects, singles, all of that. It's going to be a really fun video, I think, for y'all. And I put some big work into it, just listening to all these albums, trying to get the best critique possible, writing on my scores. But I think it came out great. I think y'all are going to really enjoy this video. Alright, a few things before we get into it. I've adjusted my rating system. Instead of doing the letter grades, I'm going with the out of 5 stars. I feel like this is going to make things much more simpler. There's less, ambiguity with the reviews, because when you have that many reviews, like A+, A minus, B+, B, B minus, C+, all of those different things, it's going to be hard to pinpoint it and realize what exactly that means, what that is. But with the out of 5 stars rating system, I feel like I can more easily portray to you what's going on. Because a 3 stars and a 5 stars, that's more defined than a C minus versus a C plus. What's the difference there? So I feel like with this new rating system, the reviews are going to be clear. My thoughts are going to be clear. I think overall it's going to be real easier to, put my thoughts together. So how about we just get straight into this video? Let's start with the first review. Alright, the first review we're going to do here is the new album from xxxfascination, Where Did You Go? So this one came out pretty recently. It's his 3rd project, I believe, and we're just going to review it right now. We start this thing off with the introduction track, which is, I believe, The Lovely by Billie Eilish instrumental. And we get one side of a phone conversation between him and this girl, and him just basically breaking down how he wanted to be with her. She cheated on him, and it ends with him just telling her to go. Sets up this type of album well, gets you the theme right off the bat of heartbreak, betrayal, stuff like that, and we're already being set up for the themes of these albums. We're going to see now if he kind of goes through those themes and delivers a nice little project. Next track is Just Look at the Moon Tonight, the first actual track of this album. I don't know about this one. I think there are some nice bars in here, where he says, like, I hope you're doing just fine, but I hope you feel the pain, which is kind of describes the mixed emotions you have with a significant other who maybe cheated on you, where you're dealing with, also, you really, really love this person, you still have feelings for them, but at the same time, like, you hate them because of what they did to you. I think that's a nice little bar he had right there. But also, overall, I think this track just doesn't sound good. It's a pretty basic, generic XXXTentacion style instrumental where, you fast rap over the vocal sample, Shiloh Dynasty type beat. But instead of this one, the flow isn't really nice. It's not like a good X rapid fire flow where you're like, damn, it's a really offbeat, off kilter flow. The filters on the voice makes it feel kind of unprofessional. not a great track. You know, I'm not gonna say that the track is devoid of meaning and there's no good in it because the lyrics have a little bit of content there, but sound-wise, not a great start. The next track on this album was I'm Exhausted featuring YDN Kev. YDN Kev, as usual, I feel like he's got the feature bug, like all of his features usually slap. He has a nice feature here, some auto-tune vocals, a more emo side to him, which really shows his versatility. He handles most of this track. He has a bit of a hook, then a verse, then a hook. It's pretty catchy, nothing too crazy. It kind of gets a little bit boring. I enjoy the beat here though. The synths and the keys hit nice. But he's not the most entertaining on it. It's fine though. And then Fascination gives a pretty average verse. Nothing too crazy. I think it's a pretty average track. I'd give it, you know, maybe 3 stars, maybe 2.5. Pretty average. Next track is Motion featuring Jahh. This track kind of starts off pretty generic beat with the vocal samples. And Fascination's verse isn't that great. He's kind of offbeat. You can't really understand him a lot of it. It's a pretty below average verse. But then this Jahh guy comes in. He can actually sing. He has some nice harmonies on this. His flow is really nice. Like, he goes on for the majority of this song, and he really kills it here. I think he really steals the show. Kind of saves this song low-key, because it was going to just be a little bit of a below-average song, Fascination, that kept going, but Jahh really, I think, kills this. And one thing you're going to notice throughout this entire project, Fascination, just his ability to stay on beat when he's rapping fast is just, it's not there. And this Jahh guy really outshines him here, just a comparison between the two flows. I don't know. I think that the feature really just blew Fascination out the water here. So the song ends up being kind of average, but I could come back to it 1 or 2 more times just for the Jahh feature, so pretty nice. Next track is called The End, and I'm not gonna lie, a pretty dark track here. He kind of goes on about Jesus Christ, him praying, and then he implies he's gonna kill himself when he says, I know I should be struggling to hold on, but I can't wait to see you. I've been waiting too long, implying that he's gonna go back to a loved one because he thinks he should be trying to stay alive, but he doesn't see the point. It has themes of suicide, but he does it in a very direct way. His flow is kind of airy, like he's losing his breath while he's doing it. And he's not exactly on beat, but it's not horrible. He does mumble towards the beginning, which I think kind of take away from the themes he was trying to do. But overall, it kind of works, this track. It's kind of dark. The beat has these piano keys, which are at the same time somber, but also kind of eerie, just in the way they're so lighthearted as he's talking about, you know, killing himself, ending his life. Interesting track here. Pretty decent. Like, I know it has some of the components of the tracks I ragged on for being boring, offbeat, and like just generic, but this one just, it's really blunt to the topic. It doesn't have these metaphors to it. He's just sort of just saying that I don't really want to hold on to life anymore. I want to go and see you, this person I've lost. Like, there's no point of trying to hold on. There's no point in struggling when I can just let go. So this track kind of works. Like, I can go back to this one. Nice job. Next track is, sorry, my bad. How Could I Love featuring Mishaal. Interesting one here. I don't know if Mishaal's the vocal sample or the producer, but this song is just Fascination harmonizing with the vocal sample on the beat. Sounds like Shiloh Dynasty, but again, I don't know if this is Mishaal or Shiloh Dynasty. But it kind of works here. It's just sort of a laid-back track you can sit back and vibe to. Nothing too complicated to it. You just kind of sit back, listen. It doesn't match up perfectly. There's some points where Fascination holds a note a bit longer and it sounds kind of off and cheap, but okay track overall. Nothing too special, nothing groundbreaking, but an okay track off this album. Track number 7 is called Wish. Being honest here, another kind of really below average track. Generic sad boy beat, generic fast rapping sad boy beat, that is, with the guitar. His flow is offbeat here. His hook is very rigid and weird, honestly, just isn't catchy at all, his flow. And there's this point at the end where he harmonizes and it's really low. He could have turned that up a little bit. Doesn't sound good. I'm just gonna keep this one short and sweet. This is probably one of the worst tracks off the album. It's painfully generic, and it's not even good type of generic where it's like, okay, this is acceptable, it's kind of boring, but it's average. This just sucks. Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm just gonna make this a little bit of a rant here. I try to be nice to these people, and I'm just letting you know, when I say something sucks, I say that out of a point of wishing you come out with something what doesn't suck. But I'm just gonna say it straight up. I think this track sucks, and you know, I'm gonna tell you exactly what you need to do to make sure it doesn't suck. For one, stay on beat. For one, make sure your vocals are mixed up right. You know, work on your harmonies or add some auto-tune to your harmonies. Just focus on staying on beat is the number one point, because if you're on beat and your flows are nice, you can make a bunch of these tracks. And I won't necessarily enjoy it, but I'll be able to acknowledge the quality in it. But with this, it's bad, straight up. Next track is Don't Show featuring Chigod. I'm gonna be honest here, this is a pretty below average track. We start off with this chorus from Fascination. It's a very repetitive chorus where he goes on and on. The flow is generic, not great. But there is a little bit of a message there, and you can build a story off of it of Don't Show. But then Chigod's verse is a bit of a steer in a different direction. He kind of takes control of the song and takes it back to a brag rap where he talks about, you know, bars hitting hard like Captain Falcon's fist. And he does have some nice flows in there, though some of them are a bit janky, and I don't enjoy a lot of them. Like that one line I mentioned, bars hit hard like Captain Falcon's fist. The syllables don't really match up, so it sounds a bit unprofessional. But he does have some nice flows, like I want to be on the TV on repeat, they see me. Like that's a nice little rhyme scheme there. But it really just doesn't mesh with the message of this track, which makes me think that Chigod have any idea what the hell this track was when he recorded this verse, or did he just purposely not like go to the theme? Like I had a theory, maybe this is him like not showing and being like, oh look at me, I'm big, because I'm not showing you who I really am. This is the thing I portray, but I don't know. Like that isn't really shown well enough for that to be actually what it is in my opinion. So you know, I don't know. I think this track just feels unorganized. One Night featuring Jahh is the 9th track, and I'll be honest, I enjoyed this track a lot. There are a lot of problems on here, I'll acknowledge it. Sometimes the flow's offbeat from Fascination, but this is just a fun track. They used the mixed personalities beat, and his flow is pretty good for a lot of it. Like, he has this nice flow, he has some nice bars where he goes like, the haters don't phase me, phase hit him with a 180, that's a nice bar. And then Jahh comes in, he sings the mixed personality hook, and it's great. Like, this dude can actually sing like super fucking well. And his verse is nice, like he has some funny ass bars about like biting and Mike Tyson. Like, this is a fun song. Like, this is the type of music he should make more often. Like, this sad shit is just, it gets boring after a while doing the same thing. This shit is so fun. And obviously I think you're better off, you know, getting beats from like YouTube producers or actual producers than remixing songs, because that's going to help you see what you can do. But search mixed personalities type beats, because you work so well on this. Like, this is the type of music I think he should focus on making more, in my opinion. Great track. Alright, next track is Changes. Another one that's a bit of a guilty pleasure here. Like, I realize his vocals are a bit, you know, mixed poorly, and they come across way too loud over the beat and unprofessional, but I like it. I think it's really chill. You just put it on in the background, you just close your eyes and chill out. He harmonizes with this beautiful beat with the keys and the ambiance. A great beat selection here, not too generic, it's just kind of beautiful. And he isn't that shitty on it. Like, he sings these simple melodies. It isn't atrociously bad, his notes, like sometimes they are. They're okay, they're nice, it's acceptable. It's a nice little track here. And although the contrast between this track and One Night before is very large, I think they both work in their own ways. And even though I prefer One Night to this, I think this is a nice little detour. And if he's gonna make an album like this, I feel like he should have filled this with tracks like this rather than the fast rapping tracks where he clearly doesn't have the flow to pull it off. So a nice effort here. However, next song, Universe, can't say the same. God, this shit sucks. Okay, that sounded harsh, but it's a reuse of a beat from a song called Young Dawn, One More Time. That alone is a bit of a downgrade, and he doesn't do anything with it. It's generic flows the entire time, sometimes offbeat. Like, there's nothing interesting to say about this track, Universe. Like, there's nothing I can say. Like, this is just not, it's so generic, so painfully generic. I can't even say anything about it. Like, I don't know what to say. The beat's okay, I guess. Then we get to Nothing Breaks Like a Heart, the 12th track featuring Jahh for, again, the last time, the 3rd time on this album. And I don't know. Like, it's okay, I guess. Fascination's flow, kind of generic, kind of works over the generic Shiloh Dynasty type beat again. You know, he reuses that type of beat a lot. That's what kind of makes this project feel very generic and one-dimensional. And Jahh's verse, while he's really been a shining star on this project here, ain't the greatest in my opinion. Like his 2000s like R&B flow, like his Chris Brown, Jahh style flow doesn't really work over this down moody beat. So I think over here it's a kind of average track, maybe a little bit below average. Disappointing. Then we have the outro, Where Do We Go? Which isn't the final track of the album actually. It's the 13th. There's 2 more after this. I don't know if those are like bonus tracks or something, but I feel like this is where the album actually ends. It's a sincere little track. It's a spoken word, you know, it's a little acoustic guitar melody with some background strings, and him, xxxfascination, kind of thanking everyone on the project, a little sincere thing about you guys are my family. It's a nice little track. It makes you kind of smile, and it makes you think, you know, although this project, there are some real lowlights on it, there are some highlights, and honestly, you know, it makes you think about this is just some kid trying to make music, and it kind of puts a different light on the project. So instead of taking itself too seriously, this track makes you think it's really just, you know, him trying to have fun, which really changed your perspective. It's a nice little outro, but then there's 2 more tracks after it. So let's get into those. And the first after the outro, Something to Remember Me By, featuring YDN Kev. I don't know about this one. The harmonies on this thing, the ooh by Fascination doesn't work. And Kev's feature also, he's had all good features, but this one just wasn't it. Like his like that flow, just it sucked. Like usually Kev's really good, but here he just seems out of his element on that emo stuff, and I understand why he doesn't really do that as often. He stays on that cocky rap or just that, you know, melodic rap. This type of stuff I don't think really suits him. And even though his first feature was acceptable, this one I don't even like that much. Not a great track. Here we have Close Friends featuring Young Flex, 15, final track. I fuck with this one. It's a remix of Close Friends, and again, the flows are pretty catchy on here. Like, Fascination's flows are catchy, and Flex's flows, like, even though the vocal effects are kind of weird, his flow is on beat, and it works. It's not the most complicated track ever, it's just the Close Friends beat, but the flows are nice. And it's a nice way to end this album, honestly. Maybe not as nice as ending with the outro, but it's a nice little way to end it. Alright, so in conclusion, this album, there is a little bit of potential there. And although I know you heard me rag on this entire thing for so long, I actually like some elements of this album. There are points where it's fun, there are points where it's legitimately saddening, and there are points where you see a lot of potential in songwriting, some potential in flow, and some potential in production ear from Fascination. But overall, I felt like he just felt like he had to make a certain type of album for a certain type of theme, and that bit him in the ass. So many of these tracks, like Wish, Just Look at the Moon Tonight, Universe kind of, tracks like that with these generic Shiloh Dynasty beats, it feels like the same track over and over again with the same bad flow, he pulls out over and over again, which is kind of offbeat. And although there are highlights like Close Friends, One Night, and Changes, overall this thing just doesn't hit. It doesn't really go through with a real story, there's no real consistency to it, and the high moments are matched by low moments. My advice to Fascination, diversify your sound a little bit, but make sure you flesh out your sound first. You're trying a lot of things here, but it doesn't seem like any of them are really hitting. You have to make sure to get your flow on beat first of all. So many of these tracks would have been acceptable if you just were on beat, but your flow just does not hit in too many of these songs. And make sure that you know what you're doing with an album before you put out 15 tracks with no clear direction, no clear message, nothing. You set up this introduction to make this album feel like something it's not gonna be. You try to set up a story, but there's no story to be found. Overall, I gotta give this thing 1.5 stars. My favorite tracks have to be One Night and Changes, with Close Friends being an honorable mention. Worst tracks have to be Universe and Wish. Overall, this thing is just kind of underwhelming. He doesn't really know what he's doing on it, and 1.5 is pretty generous. He's not going to get to 2 stars, and although there are some highlights, they aren't really highlights where you show it to everyone. They're like, wow, this is a great song. Those are just songs I can acknowledge good qualities from. There's nothing here that's really great, in my opinion, which gives me the tough 1.5 star rating. Not a great project, in my opinion. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, the next project here is Sorry for the Wait. It is the newest album from Chigod. It's a compilation of some of the singles he's dropped recently, his EP Madhouse, and some songs from some earlier projects. It's 22 tracks long though, but spoiler alert, not all of them are songs, most of them aren't songs. Enjoy. Let's get into the review. The first track of this album is the intro, and it's kind of similar to, if you're an X fan, the introductions he did on 17 and Question Mark, where he kind of just tells you, open your mind, get ready for this project, which makes you think that this is kind of going to be Chigod's first, magnum opus, his first real big project, and it's kind of creepy, just like the vocal effect on it. It kind of goes in and out, and the way it comes in, his vocals come in, is kind of like a horror movie. He breaks down what he's been through, including turning himself in for charges, which he told me is a bit more complicated than it seems. I don't really want to get into his dirty laundry right now, but that part, at least from what he's telling me, is true, so there's no cap here specifically. But it's a pretty creepy intro. I don't know if it's a good intro precisely. It doesn't really do much for me personally, but it kind of sets the stage for the album. And it goes in nicely into the next track, which is Price, featuring on Flex and YDN Kev. A bit of a banger track here with a Comethazine type beat, in my opinion. Chigod's hook, it's okay. I don't think it's the best hook ever. It's nothing too special, but it's a decent hook, I'd say. The flow is pretty alright. It gets stuck in your head a little bit. Flex's verse, I didn't fuck with it too much. I thought it was kind of corny. Some of his bars were a bit generic and a bit too lewd. Like, I know it sounds weird when you say a bit too lewd, but it was lewd for no real reason. Kev's verse, however, he repeats the same verse twice over the beat when it's not dropped, like leading up to the drop, and it's a really nice performance by him. It gets you hyped up. His flow is catchy. Overall, pretty decent track. Some people were better on it than others. I think Kev really stole the show here to a certain extent, but overall I enjoyed this track. Next track is Russian National Anthem 2.0, featuring Bluesome and OlddMillkk. Already 4 features on this thing, 3 songs in, even though the first song was an intro, and this one's a banger. The beat by Bluesome is really minimalist. Again, the production by him, top notch. Really minimalist beat. It's kind of weird, but it works. Chigod's hook is catchy as hell, pretty menacing. I really like his cadence here, the dark cadence he comes with. Bluesome's verse, it's a bit animated and you can't really take it seriously, but it is enjoyable. His whisper flow is pretty nice, although I don't think it's the best whisper flow in this album, which is a weird thing to say, but it does fit the vibe. And OlddMillkk's verse is really aggressive, hard-hitting. I really enjoyed that one as well. So overall, it's a banger overall as a song, and I definitely come back to this one. Probably the best song on the album, in my opinion. As an overall song, just, put it on. This is something you could show to your friends. They wouldn't even know it's SoundCloud rap. I feel like they'd be like, huh, who is this? Is this like an up-and-coming artist? I think it's definitely the most legitimate song off this entire project. Next song off this thing is a skit called No One Gives a Fucking Shit How You Feel, and it's just 19 seconds of distortion. I think I can make out some of the words. I think I hear no one cares how you feel, but the rest of it is just kind of, I had no idea what the fuck he's saying. I don't know if that's the point, but this sketch, it didn't really do anything for me. It just kind of left me confused. It's 19 seconds, and there's a bunch of sketches like this. Another weird song here, Hell's a Place on Earth featuring SuicideJay. We start off with this menacing melody, and then we get this vocal sample with the person. I forget exactly what they said, but they said something like, I wish we could go back, it was fine then. And then Chigod comes in with this weird pitch-shifted screaming verse, which is barely a verse. It's so short. This song is only like a minute 20, but I don't know. Like, I know it's supposed to be kind of aggressive and demon-like, but I feel like he kind of overdoes it here to the point where it's kind of corny. And then this SuicideJay feature just doesn't sound good at all. Like, I know he's supposed to be a metal singer, but there's not enough around him for him to sound natural, and just him screaming just sounds kind of cringy. I don't fuck with this track at all. I feel like this is definitely a low light off the album. It doesn't really do anything for me. Next track, number 6, is another skit called Baby I'm Drowning. Weird. It's about 5 seconds of like aquatic sound effects, and it hears like someone screaming underwater. I feel like the meaning of that is he feels trapped, and also on No One Gives a Fucking Shit How You Feel, I feel like a lot of these songs have themes of feeling trapped and wanting to get out of a bubble, and that's why I feel like a lot of this early part of the album was just aggression of him being trapped up and caged, and you can get that through the sketches as well. So pretty, I wouldn't say it's too complicated storytelling, but it's pretty different for a SoundCloud rapper to have this type of, you know, weird abstract storytelling methods, if I am interpreting it right, but I feel like this is definitely up for interpretation. So this is a decent sketch. I feel like it kind of very quickly gives you a vibe of what the next track is kind of going to be. And the next track is a pretty decent one. It's Back to Back. This whole song has a whisper flow, a really, really nice whisper flow in my opinion. Like, especially on this second verse, like the matte black, bat, rat, cat, like that type of rhyme scheme, he does it really well. Chigod, like he rhymes them together, just really slick ass flow. In the beginning also, his flow is great. My diamonds go crazy. I know that they hate me, they foaming like rabies. That's a nice little flow. I drip and be lone. I'm better alone. Like, they're nice flows. Like, I know they sound kind of simple when I say them out loud, but they're nice flows. And then it's an xxxfascination sample for the chorus. I don't know where the hell it's from, or if it's like from a leak or something, but it kind of works. Like, it fits the energy of the song. It's really low key, like menacing, minimalist beat with the whisper flow, but it's a nice little track. It kind of feels, it's a bit eerie, just how quiet it is, and you feel like there's a little bit of aggression coming up from under that just is ready to break through at any moment. So I feel like this is a nice track to transition off the back of Baby I'm Drowning, the sketch. The transitions into the next one pretty nice and keeps the more low-key minimalist idea. Well, treading underwater almost, and you're ready to burst up and, you know, fucking kill everyone, but you're trying to stay underwater. Pretty nice. Track number 8 is a sketch called I Think We Should Try This Out. It's about 8 seconds. He basically says, I don't know who you are, you don't know who I am, I think we should try this out, which I think kind of plays into the next segment, which is just the Madhouse EP, which he kind of puts right in the middle of this project. And it's a little bit of a story about desperation, and you can kind of see it here in the sketch, which transitions nicely into Lounge, which this track kind of just sums up the next track. It kind of tells you exactly what the next track is going to focus on, which is Lounge, which is one of his more successful tracks, almost at 1,000 plays, and basically breaks down just seeing this person and wanting to be with them, you know, take them to the lounge, even though you don't know them that well. Hancock Beats, or Peng, I know it is Hancock Beats because I listened to the track before, but they must have changed their name. But Peng has a really nice verse here, you know, it's pretty smooth, matches the vibe of it. It's a more lush type verse. After you get this girl to the lounge, he kind of talks about the more sexual aspect to it. And it's a pretty nice verse. It's a really laid back track. I can understand why it got kind of popular. Enjoyed this one a lot. Goes into the next sketch, which is I Need Fucking Chaos, which I assume, this is my interpretation of where he says him after he gets into the relationship, he's kind of bored, and he's like, this entire sketch is him just saying, I'm fucking tired of this shit. I need fucking chaos. I need to get out of this box. And it transitions nice into Monopoly, which is a fun, energetic beat on a Playboy Cardi type beat. Kev, YDN Kev is the feature on this song. Kev's chorus is really catchy and energetic. It's fun as well. This beat is really nice, as I just said. And Chigod's verse is really nice too. He has a fast-paced flow on his verse. The rhyme scheme's nice. Overall, it's just a nice little banger thrown into this. And a nice little banger thrown in the middle of this, you know, sadder section of the project, more low-key section of the project. God damn, can't speak. But nice little track that transitions into the sketch. The 12th track on the album, Stable, which is a little sketch. I can't really make out most of the words, but at the end I hear them say, I'm not particularly stable, which goes into Distance, which has a pretty generic xxxfascination Shiloh Dynasty type beat. But Chigod's flow here is really nice, fast paced, on beat, matches the beat well. And then at the end there's this singing portion, which isn't great. It's not the most professional, but it kind of works. He layers a bunch of vocals together, and it sounds pretty nice. It's a nice little outro to the Madhouse portion of this project. Kind of just goes into, like, I can't handle the distance, can't handle the the distance between the two, but maybe also the literal distance. It's just the depth of a relationship. So in these 3 tracks, these 3 sketches, you kind of get a little insight into the start of a relationship and the end of one, and it kind of goes along with the story of this whole project, which is Sorry for the Wait, which, you know, the title isn't really referring to what the project is, but the project seems more like, you know, this person, emotional journey, and through his life. I don't know if that's Chigod or he's talking about someone else, he's living through someone else, but it comes across as kind of this giant story about this one person. The next track is a sketch, which is some backwards audio. It's called What the Fuck Is Wrong With You. I'm not gonna put that thing in reverse because I don't know if this like puts together the entire puzzle of the album, but I asked Chigod and he just said, you know, it's better if it's reversed. That's what he told me, which is I don't even know what the fuck that means, but you know, maybe it'll come to me eventually. And that transitions into the next track, which is UFO, which is a little bit of a lyrical track. It's about 2 minutes 24 seconds, just him going in the entire time, and it's not bad, but it's awfully generic, and I don't think it really fits the scheme of this album. And this is kind of the theme for the entirety of this little section here, from track 14 to track the end of it. I'd say it goes into a little bit of a flex portion. So I guess the kind of main story of this album ends at distance and kind of gets into past What the Fuck Is Wrong With You. We get to the final section of this album. So I guess the beginning was kind of the trap section, the middle part was the relationship madhouse section, and the last part is more of a flex generic section. So I guess it kind of feels like 3 projects in one here, which is kind of nice. So sorry for the wait. I guess here's 3 projects was the point of it. But UFO, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. It's kind of generic. He doesn't really do much on it. Like, his flows are okay, but they're kind of simple, and his bars are kind of surface level, a lot of them. Like, the rhyme schemes are nice. His rhyme schemes are always kind of nice, but the wordplay isn't really there. And for someone who's trying to get to a lyrical, more old school track, doesn't really fit for me. So not a great track in my opinion, not a great outing. Next track is Slat, featuring Lil Fiji and YDN Kev. This beat is pretty nice with the pianos and the synths. It's a nice little eerie vibe here. But I feel like Chigod's verse feels a little bit offbeat, which is kind of rare for him. I don't feel like he's offbeat that often, but here I feel like he comes across as kind of offbeat. The YDN Kev feature is pretty nice though. He flows really well. And the Lil Fiji feature, pretty alright I'd say. Although the content is a bit one-dimensional, that's not a big problem because his flow is pretty nice. So there's not much to say about this track. If I'm being honest, it's not a great track. It's kind of really generic here, and it doesn't really add to this album at all. You definitely can skip this one. Not my favorite here, and I'm not really happy it's the #1 single off this thing over Back Back. I mean, off the album specifically, that wasn't released as a single before that. This is the song that's really taken off a little bit, which I don't really fuck with that as much because I feel like it's not one of the best on the album. But, you know, people like what they like, I guess. Next track is TMI, which stands for Turn Myself In. He dropped this one when he turned himself in for charges, which I said before, a little bit of that, it gets a more interesting, or not gets more interesting, I guess gets more complicated than him just turning himself in. And I'm not going to go into it before he goes into it because it's not my space to air his dirty laundry, as I stated before. But the track just kind of goes into him turning himself in and hoping that, you know, this doesn't ruin his life. And it's a pretty heartwarming track, knowing the circumstances that go around the track. I think it's a nice track, but I don't know if it really fit in this album precisely, but it kind of has a Polo G vibe, the beat with the pianos, and it isn't produced the best. The flow is kind of generic. It's pretty average, but knowing the circumstances, I think it's a pretty nice effort by Chigod here. Next track is track 18, Wrist in Motion. Interesting track here. The beat is really wavy. It's a really wavy beat, and the flow by Chigod, this auto-tuned heavy flow, it kind of works. Like, the verse is a little bit offbeat, some portions of it, but I feel like the hook is pretty catchy. It's a pretty generic song, so I'd say it's a really average track here. Chigod's flow, not great, but some of it's catchy, and the beat really kind of saves this one. So pretty average track. Not much to say about it in my opinion. Next track is Wish You Well, which is a diss track to Jaybird, which is some other rapper. I don't really know much about him. He was featured on the Beerus, aka Chase 999 project I reviewed before called Zone. Go check that out on my channel. I did a whole project review. But his verse I thought was kind of bland. But here, this is a really nice diss track. Again, I don't really know why it's on this album. This whole last portion kind of feels really unorganized compared to the rest of the album the story was telling. But it's not a bad track. Like, the beat is pretty cool with the vocal samples. Another Polo G, Roddy Ricch type beat. and he comes across it pretty well. He has some nice bars in it, and if you know the context of it even a little bit, you realize this is a pretty nice diss track, pretty nice effort by Chigod here. The next two tracks are demos, which I'm not really going to count towards the score. I'm going to go over them, but just because they're demos, I'm not going to count them because I feel like these are kind of like bonus tracks that you don't really need to count particularly, especially since they're labeled as unfinished. But they do have features on them, and I want to go over them. So let's start off with the first one. This track, Young Dons, featuring Young Flex. This one ain't it. For one, Chigod's flow is pretty generic with the auto-tune. A lot of it's boring. There's kind of points between it. He obviously freestyled it. It doesn't really work here. And Young Flex's verse is way too quiet. Doesn't work. It's really generic. This beat is great with the pianos. The weird pianos. It's a nice beat, but they don't really ride it well. This one's really forgettable. Not fucking with this one. Even if it is a demo, I'm just telling you the truth. Not fucking with this one. There's not much to say. Just not a great track. Next track, Tesla, is a bit of a banger. This beat hits so hard. The drums hit hard. The melody is menacing. And although Chigod's flow, again, kind of freestyled, it works here. Some of these bars are funny, or you're kind of just like, this girl, she too tall. Like, she's 6'4". Fuck. Yeah, that part was kind of funny. And then his whisper flow. The whisper flow is nice. He has some nice whisper flows on this album. You know, there's only two of them from him. The other one from Bluesome. But I feel like he has the two best whisper flows here. Even though it's the weaker out of the two from Back in this one. And then LL De Niro's verse is really hard-hitting. He flows well over this beat, as he usually does. He really has that comethazine banger flow to it. Nice track. Even though it's a demo, I think it's a pretty nice track here. And then we get to the outro, which is him just kind of telling you, you know, you might be confused, you might be surprised, you might be blah, 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 you might be all these things. But those are all the right reactions, and that's the end of the album. And that's a nice way to end it. You know, it's a confusing, weird outro, and this is, I feel like, a confusing, weird album as a whole. So how about we get into the score? When we talk about this album, I think you gotta respect the effort Chigod put in this thing. There's a clear story he was trying to tell, and there's clear motivations behind every choice he made. From these sketches to these unique beats and flows, Chigod really was trying something different here. And although this didn't work all the time, with tracks like Hell is a Place on Earth and Slat being forgettable, and Young Dons being plain out bad, a lot of these tracks work in what they're trying to do. And especially the Madhouse segment and early parts of the album, they really work. Bangers like Russian National Anthem 2.0 and Price, back to back, are great segments of the album that really get you going. And Lounge Through Distance is a great segment of tracks and skits to tell a unique story about a relationship. And although it's not fleshed out as well as you'd want it to be, and Chigod is clearly still young and inexperienced in his storytelling abilities, there is something to be admired here about him taking a chance and creating a different type of album. And although not all of it is necessarily meant to be there or needs to be there, I think there's enough here that can let you see that this album has some quality to it. And the production's great, a lot of the flows are great, and when you listen to this thing, I think you're going to come away with more good than bad. And in my opinion, that makes this a pretty good album. In my opinion, this project is a 3.5 out of 5 stars for Chigod. My favorite tracks have to be Russian National Anthem 2.0, Back, Lounge, and Monopoly. The worst tracks, in my opinion, are going to have to be Hell is a Place on Earth, Slat, and Young Dons. Alright, let's move on to the next project. Alright, the next project we're going to get into is the newest album by Triple L De Niro, LL De Niro, De Niro's World with 3 L's. It's 6 tracks long, no features. Let's get straight into it. Next, the first track here is Take Your Soul. 2 minutes 15 seconds, but it feels a lot longer just because at the beginning, all the ad-libs, the excessive ad-libs in the background, the boom, boom, skr, as he's giving this hook, it's entertaining, but once you get through it a little bit, it gets kind of generic and repetitive, and by the end of it, you're wishing for it to end. It's a very one-dimensional hype track, a comethazine type track, just the way he does everything. He kind of models it after a lot of these modern hype rappers like comethazine and KK. But it is an enjoyable track, but I feel like it could have been a little bit shorter. And I know when I'm talking about a 2 minute and 15 minute track, it seems weird to ask for it to be shorter. But at least, you know, make it a little bit more interesting. Mix up your flow a little bit more. over that 2 minutes and 15 seconds or shorten it. In my opinion, could have been way shorter or could have been way more interesting. Not to say it was bad. This beat was really nice. Like the eeriness of the melody really fit well with the drums and came with this nice beat, but De Niro's flow kind of got old after a little bit. Had a lot of potential, but maybe didn't live up to it as much as I'd hoped. Next track is Big Stacks. This one's a fun one. I enjoyed this one the whole way through. Maybe because the flow on the chorus was so nice. The melody on this thing is a dark, menacing melody. These drums hit hard with the bass. And De Niro's flow, it's fun. His ad-libs, again, like the YBN Namir style, the Comethazine mix, it's really nice. He's just doing that constantly in the background as he's talking about big stacks, big racks. Catchy flow here. This is definitely one of the best bangers off this album. It's really enjoyable. So like a kid there. It's very enjoyable, very hard hitting, and there's not much to say about it. It's just a straight up banger. And a lot of these tracks on here are just straight up bangers. I feel like that's what De Niro specializes in, definitely. And this is definitely a good showcase of his specialty. Next we have The Bag, which is a more laid back track. And it's not exactly so laid back that it's like a complete 180, but the beat is much less aggressive or hard hitting with the bass. It's a beat with a nice little piano melody. It's a bit menacing and dark, but the drums don't hit too hard. And it's really just De Niro going off about money and stuff like that. And although the subject doesn't change, the tone of his flow is much lighter, and I really enjoy his flow here. I think his flow is amazing, but he has some really nice, rhyme schemes in here. And it's a very more focused track than some other tracks. It's just really about money, making money, just bragging about stuff like that. But he does a great job on it, and it really is not a complete 180, but it's definitely a different direction for De Niro here, and I definitely think that this shows his versatility, and I'm really looking forward to him becoming more versatile, because this is a nice little step, and I think that if he keeps doing tracks like this, he's going to become a way better artist. So I really enjoyed this one. Next track is Big Ol' Bust Down, and this one definitely has some heavy Lil Pump inspiration. It feels like a very early Lil Pump track. The beat is hard hitting with some synths that feel a bit, unpolished like early Lil Pump songs. And the flow is pretty nice. It's aggressive, but it's pretty repetitive, again, like a Lil Pump song. And yeah, it's a pretty simple song. I wouldn't say it's too complicated. There's nothing about it makes you go, oh my god, what the hell is this? Or it makes you get particularly too hyped up. But it's a very simple track. It's nothing egregiously bad. It's nothing egregiously good. It's a simple modern day SoundCloud banger. I could put it on again, but it's nothing too special. This next track, On a Shirt, is probably one of the worst on the album, if not the worst. This beat with the spacey melody doesn't really do it for me, and the vocals with the heavy reverb also don't really fit for this one. And at this point, the flow is getting a tiny bit old, so when he came out with the same flows he did for Take Your Soul, Big Stats, and Big Ol' Bust Down, it really was getting a little bit boring here, and this one I don't really fuck with. Like, it's generic, but it's not generic in a fun way, where you can acknowledge, okay, this is a good track. It's just like stuff I've heard before. It was kind of generic in a way where you're like, oh my god, I've heard this a million times before, I don't really want to hear this again. Not a great track, which makes me wonder how long could his projects really be, because if it's getting old already at 5 tracks, I wonder if, like, when he tries something with 12 tracks, how boring that would get, or if he'll be able to diversify his sound. But this one, I wasn't really fucking with it. This last track number 6, Pause It, has some really entertaining ad-libs. There's this, like, woo, like that ad-lib. That ad-lib's really fire, in my opinion. But this one, the beat is hard as shit with the dark piano. Oh my god. Like, I know it's kind of a generic beat, but this hits so hard. And De Niro didn't really have to do much, but he does his thing. He has some really funny flows, funny bars, entertaining. Not much to say about this track. It hits really hard. It's a banger. Like, the beat is a banger. De Niro's flow is a banger. And although before on A Shirt I criticized it for being generic, this one, the beat hits so hard, and he has the ad-libs, the entertaining ad-libs, it really balances out, and it gets you with a banger that doesn't feel boring. Nice way to close out the album. So my overall thoughts of this album, it's decent. It's quick, it goes by really quick, and you get a lot out of it. You get some bangers like Take Your Soul, Big Stacks, Pause It. You get some more laid back tracks like The Bag and On a Shirt to a certain degree, although I feel like On a Shirt just isn't good. But I think De Niro shows off a little bit of versatility, specifically on one track, and we're getting a little bit of progress here. A lot of these songs feel different from the other ones, even though some of them mesh together. I'm talking about On a Shirt again. Songs like Pause and Take Your Soul really have their own identities, which before De Niro wasn't really able to pull that off as well as he does now. I think this album shows a lot of progression from him, and honestly is a big step in the right direction, and definitely has a bunch of bangers, and is one you can really put on and get hyped to at any time, and it's easy to do so. It's quick, it's short, and it's sweet. Really like this one. In conclusion, I'm gonna give Triple L De Niro's World a 3 stars out of 5. My favorite tracks have to be The Bag and Pause It. My least favorite has to be On a Shirt. On to the next project. The next project here is by one of my favorite upcoming rappers by the name of Brandon. He has a Death of an Innocence EP, which came out about 2 months ago. I'm just going to spoil it right now. I really enjoyed this project, but I'm going to review it. Hopefully put you on to Brandon, because he's a great artist. Alright, the first song, Freak in the Sheets, great song here. One of my favorite off the album, personally, EP, sorry. But this beat is really nice with the pianos, kind of like a childish type piano nursery rhyme, but it hits really hard. He has a Lil Uzi Vert type flow, but it's really good. His cadence is great. He reminds me of a Maru Son with his cadence here, which is another kind of underrated artist I listen to. But he has a great cadence, and there's a section where the drums cut out, and he has these great harmonies on this thing. His flow is impeccable here. The content isn't really, top level. It's just like generic content, but his flow, impeccable. Some of the best I've heard in a while. It's so easy to listen to. This is a great track. It's 4 minutes, but it flies by like it's nothing. Amazing track. Go check it out. This track is Some Way Somehow, another great track. This beat is amazing. The drums hit hard, and the melody kind of matches the drums here. His flow reminds me of a Lil Keat a little bit. He has a Lil Keat type flow, or like a Playboy Cardi. It's a simple flow, but his melodies are great. He sings really well here with the auto-tune, a more high-pitched baby voice type flow, but it really matches well. Babyface cadence. Again, the content isn't that crazy, but it sounds so good aesthetically. It's an incredible song here. Just the way that he rides this beat with the hard drums, and he rides it so smoothly, they come together so great. There's a bit of a contrast between the vocals, just like kind of with Cardi, his minimalist vocals and his hard-hitting beats, how that contrast comes. His voice kind of works with the instrumental instead of, battling the instrumental. It matches so well. Another amazing track. This track, less melodic one, the third track on this album, called Good Dope. Great song here. I don't know if this is a sample, but it sounds like it's like from an intro of a superhero TV show, like that feeling, or like an orchestra, but like it has a really large feeling to it, and he rides it really well. The drums come in over that type of melody, and he has this great flow on it. His cadence is amazing. I can't really describe it, but he has a really great cadence here where it's aggressive, but at the same time it feels melodic and soft. It's not like a hype type, it's not like a hype cadence what you get from like Comethazine, but at the same time it still has a lot of energy coming through it. A really enjoyable track here. The beat selection is great. This is probably one of the best beats on the project, maybe my favorite beat on the entire project. Great song. The next song is Shout Out. This beat is great. It has a real futuristic type feel to it. The melody going in and out, a real electronic feel to it, and the flow he comes with is really cool here. It's really melodic, sing-songy, but he hits those notes really well, surprisingly well. It seems like he's a pretty capable singer, and it comes across really smooth, and the whole track feels really smooth and calming and laid back. Overall, this is a really vibey track. I think you just put this on and chill. Shows off his versatility, in this project. Nice track. Making It Work. Oh my god, I love this song. I don't think you understand how good this song is. This beat with the off-kilter Pierre Bourne style melodies combined with his beautiful vocals, oh my god. He rides this beat so well. Brandon comes through with these great vocals, some high notes in there. He kills this track completely. It's such a vibe. You know that meme where the dude from Arthur puts on the headphones and then he like goes into a different world, like his body's spinning around and like the background changes? I don't know if I sound crazy, but that's an actual meme, and that's what I felt right now. I'll try to put that on screen if I'm not lazy as shit. But anyway, this song is so good. Like, it's so euphoric. His vocals, the high notes he hits, it feels like a Lil Keed song, but like you can understand what he's saying, and it's so beautiful. Again, the content isn't too complicated, but it's such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song. But like, this is definitely one of my favorite songs of the year. Like, on SoundCloud standards, this is such a great song. You just gotta listen to it, making it work. Oh my god, such a good song. Last song on here called Sorry. You know, it's a bit of a definitely the worst track here. It gets a bit boring. It's a bit of an emo song, but it doesn't really go all the way. So you just end up having a bit of a boring song, his flows on here, they're pretty generic, and although I think he's just trying to go for a vibey, spacey type track, it doesn't really work, and you just end up with something that's a bit boring and uninteresting. That's my personal opinion. Definitely nothing I'm really going to come back to that often. Not horrible, but just kind of below average. Overall, this is a really, really great project. Brandon shows up a lot of styles, and he comes through really well through all of those styles, whether it be the more laid-back tracks like Shout Out, and the more aggressive tracks like Good Dope. He really showcases all of his abilities and his flow, as well as being shown as a great vocalist throughout this entire thing. I was impressed by his vocals here, his vocal range, his ability to create great melodies. He reminds me of, you know, a Lil Keed flow-wise and beat selection-wise, and that's a really good thing. I think he has a lot of potential to keep growing here, but this is a very, very good effort. And honestly, other than Sorry, all these tracks are bangers that you can put on and vibe out to immediately. Overall, I give this project 4 stars out of 5. My favorite tracks being Freak in the Sheets, Some Way Somehow, Good Dope, and Shout Out, and my least favorite being Sorry. Let's move on to the next project. Alright, this next project is going to be Is There a Valentine for a Heart Eater? It is the debut EP from xxxfascination. It came out about 4 months ago. He requested me to review it, so that's why I'm doing both of the projects in this video. So how about we get straight into reviewing this project, my thoughts on it, and then give it a rating. Let's go. First track is Love Me, and I don't know about this track. The beat is pretty ambient, pretty chill, laid back, lo-fi type beat, pretty simple. His delivery though, his singing isn't great, his melodies aren't that professional, but I guess he was just going for a more laid back track. It's only 1 minute and 38 seconds, and I'm not gonna sit here and act like I particularly enjoyed this track, but it's not something where it's so bad you're like, oh my god, this is the worst. Might make you cringe a little bit, but after a while you just kind of realize, okay, this is just some chill ass track. It's a pretty decent track. It's pretty average, maybe a little bit below average, but it's nothing too egregious, in my opinion. Next track is Ended featuring Lil Fiji, and this track, fuck, dude, this is his earliest work, so I'm gonna cut a little bit of slack, but this track is 4 minutes and 50 seconds of just reverbed crooning, no auto-tune, just crooning these melodies where he doesn't have any melodic talent singing wise. He can't hit these notes, so it's just him crooning in this one tone for the entire song. It's 4 minutes and 50 seconds. It's unbearably boring and bad. If you're not doing something in the background, it feels like it's 8 minutes. This is probably the worst track I've reviewed in the history of this channel, and I know I'm being harsh right now, but this track is so bad, and I realize this is his first work, but he said this stuff was his better project, and I'm gonna hit it with what I think is the truth. And the truth is, everything on that Summertime Dreams, or whatever the hell it's called, project is better than this. This is another level of bad. Ended featuring Lil Fiji. This is a 0 star out of 10 song. If you want to get a rating, like a little song that you can look to and say, okay, this is 0 out of 10 quality, this is 0 out of 10 quality. 0 out of 5, sorry. Horrible, quite frankly. Next track is I Met a Girl in London, and I Think I'm in Love, and another one of these songs which is way too long. If this song was like 1 minute, I might be able to accept it as just a chilled, laid-back song where he doesn't have the most amount of vocal ability, but at least he's able to just ride an okay, laid-back lo-fi beat. This is just a generic lo-fi beat, but this thing goes on for 4 minutes, and that's what makes this thing so unacceptable. If this thing was maybe like 1 minute 30, I'd say it's a little bit long, but for 4 minutes, this thing is so... It withstays its welcome. There's these notes he hits throughout this thing where he, like, his voice cracks. That's what it sounds like. It literally sounds like a voice track, like someone who's making a Minecraft parody who would hit notes. Like, that's literally what it sounds like. This shit is Oh my god, this shit is hard to get through. I can't believe I listened to this full thing. It is an experience, and it is a type of experience you never want to experience again. This is the experience I bet the Jews had when they were being fucking gassed, okay? Garbage. Another long-ass song. Track number fucking... shit. Track number 4, Mind State. 3.5 minutes of him just on this generic vocal sample beat, harmonizing with the vocal sample, and him getting these just offbeat, horrible melodic verses. I can't even describe. What the fuck is this? This is so. Why did he say this was better than anything he's ever put out? I can understand why this is the first thing you put out, because this is. Oh, this is shit. Next song, Immunity, featuring Little Fiji. They used the instrumental from No Heart by YW, which is one of my favorite Melly songs, and they shit all over. The flows, offbeat, the melodies, horrible, can't hit a note. Lil Fiji's features, shit, too reverby, too many vocal effects. I can't even go over it. There's one part where like the beat cuts out, and then just Fascination comes back in going like, it's so fucking awkward. It made me fucking laugh out loud the way he came back into this thing. Like, listen to this. I'm just gonna play it for you. What the fuck is that? What? Shit! Next track, Do You Even Love Me? No, I don't love you at all. This track is a generic guitar beat and him singing with so many vocal layers, you have no idea what he's saying. It's just a mesh of random sounds over a beat. This has broken my spirit and will, and I don't like music anymore. I'm gonna quit my job, and I'm gonna jump off a fucking London Bridge, where you met that girl, and hopefully I can throw you off it too, so you never make this type of fucking music again. That's a little bit harsh, I'm sorry I said that, but please don't do this again, please don't. Please never do this again, please! Final track, Take a Seat on My Dick Please, featuring Lil Fiji. I like the beat at least. But the lyrics suck. It's mixed horribly. There's this one line where he goes, put it on her hiney. No one says the word hiney. And then Lil Fiji's verse is offbeat and bad. I realize this review is kind of harsh right now, but I've lost all my will. And I think at this point you probably know how bad this project is because it's a really old project and we tend to hate old projects, but xxxfascination. This is bad. This is very bad. To get this rating positive about this album, there are none. There's nothing particularly good about this album at all. Negatives, offbeat flows, generic stuff, too many vocal inflections, repetitive songs, horrible beat selection, repetitive beats. I could go on, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna say it. This is 0 stars. This is a 0-star album. There's no stars. This album has no quality. This is a 0-star project. Let's fucking move on, please. The last full project I will be reviewing this video is going to be Little Fiji, When I Die, Play My Music on Repeat. It is an EP he dropped 4 months ago on May 17th. 5 tracks on this thing, 2 features, xxxfascination, which I'm not too thrilled to be listening to again, and Bluesome. So how about we get straight into the final project of the video. Track 1 is Bonfires featuring xxxfascination. Lil Fiji's parts are catchy enough. The beat, the classic guitar beat, Gunna type thing. His flows are catchy enough. You know, the bonfire part is nice. Fascination's verse is this long ass, breathy, staticky verse that really contrasts with Fiji's, because Fiji's isn't staticky at all. Fascination's verse is staticky as hell, nasally, the horrible verse. It really brings down this song, if I'm being honest. But overall, Fiji's part is okay. The beat is smooth enough. Not egregiously bad, except Fascination's verse. That really brings us down another notch. Next song is Lost for a Long Time, featuring Bluesome. This one has a pretty generic guitar beats, I've said that a lot of times, but I guess Fascination, Fiji like those type of beats. Fiji is a bit too quiet for my taste. I feel like he kind of gets drowned by the guitar riff, and his flow isn't very interesting for him to stand out anyway. Bluesome's verse, the first part where he's doing the typical Bluesome type flow rap isn't too great, but when he gets into the auto-tune crooning, I think that really fits the beat, and he really, that section of his verse is definitely the highlight of the song. This is, I guess, a decent song. I mean, I think it's a bit below average for my taste. Next song is Chronic. Pretty generic, Logic type beat, I'd say, somewhere around that range, with the bouncing around melody there. And he goes for this more, complicated, fast rapper, technically proficient flow. It doesn't really work because he's rapping so fast, but he seems to just be going off without regarding the beat. Like, he doesn't at all. It feels like his flow and the beat are completely different entities on this song. He's just going one direction, the beat is going another direction. Not exactly a great track here. It's kind of hard to listen to because he just completely disregards the beat here. He isn't working with anything. His flow is okay, I guess, but you gotta work with the beat, and that's what's gonna make your flow better. Because flow on its own, that's nice if it's an acapella, but when you're flowing over a beat, it's almost as important to connect with the beat than it is to have, consistency in your flow. So, disappointing. Next song is On My Way. This song is a 2 minutes and 23 seconds, but it feels way longer than that just because the flows are really generic on this one for Fiji. The beat doesn't do much. It's just one melody the entire time, kind of. It switches up a little bit, but not enough to keep the thing interesting with Fiji's flow. And he just kind of goes on, and he doesn't really change anything in his delivery. So you just end up with this song that drags for way longer than he needs to. Even though it is only 2 minutes and 23 seconds, he didn't really do anything with that period of time. So a very, very below average track. Last song on this EP is Time's Up, the outro of this, and I kind of enjoyed this track. Fiji's flow is really solid, it's smooth, it matches the beat well. Production is pretty okay, if generic. And yeah, Fiji's flow here really solid. He's on beat, he has a catchy hook. His verses are sticky, really nice, really nice flow here. Like, I know I just said that a few times, but I feel that he really was able to step it up. And that's surprising because on other parts of this album, his flow is very generic, but here he keeps it entertaining, he keeps it lively, and he seems really on his element, on this beat. Nice track. So, When I Die, Play My Music on Repeat by Lil Fiji, the EP. My opinions on it, I think it's pretty generic. There are low points on it, there are somewhat high points, but overall you just come away with it feeling like you wasted your time, because you don't really get anything out of it. And even though there are some decent tracks on here, you just kind of walk away thinking, what's the point of doing this? There doesn't seem to be any real consistency with the tracks, and that's okay, but the tracks aren't interesting enough to hold their own individually, so the EP just kind of feels, again, really pointless. And maybe I kind of understand the title now, because When I Die implies that he is dead. The cover has a tombstone, and this project is fucking dead. Now, I've been kind of harsh here in this review, and that's just been, a goal of mine to get a little bit harsher, but I just gotta be honest with this one. I'm feeling maybe 2 stars here, and that's a generous rating from me. 2 stars out of 5. Below average. I wouldn't check this one out again, but hopefully Lil Fiji's next album, and I did like his singles, and we'll get into that for his new album, but this one, definitely a misstep. Alright, so we're done with the projects. Let's get into the singles. So for these, I'm just going to go through kind of rapid fire. I'd say not that rapid fire, just a minute a song maybe a little bit more if I have more to say about it, just like I'd review a song on an album. So I don't even know why I said rapid fire. I should retake this, but I'm not going to. So how about we get straight into this before I mess it up even more. Alright, first thing we're gonna go over is by Andre Halo. The song's called Moe's, featuring Shetty and Wheezy, production by Wheezy. Not sure if this is a Wheezy beat. I really hope it is a Wheezy beat, or else it's kind of scummy. The song is okay. The beat has a nice little groove to it with the kind of out of tune flute type thing. The drums hit pretty hard. The feature though, the Shetty, I assume the feature is Shetty because the person on the verses definitely outperforms the person on the hook. I'm just gonna say the person on the hook is Andre Halo. Andre Halo's hook is kind of a bit too mumbly. I don't really mess with it as much. It's okay, but it's nothing too special. The verse, the flow is really interesting. The vocal effects on it, his voice is really powerful. I really fuck with the verse by Shetty here. And Wheezy's production, if it is Wheezy's production, is very, it's okay. So definitely a serviceable song here. One I'll definitely come back to. And, enjoyable, yeah. Even if the feature kind of saves it, still can come back to this one. Good song. Next song here is a song by Amaru's Son. A bit bigger than the other artists I cover, but definitely one of my favorites coming up in the SoundCloud scene. He's getting a lot of traction on paid promotions with Dante and other reaction YouTubers. I'm Dante, is who I'm referring to. But he is really good. And this most recent single, Hate Love, another great one. The beat feels like a Trippie Redd type thing. Earlier in his career, and his flows are really great. They're catchy at the beginning, and when he goes into more strained vocals, you can feel the more aggression and more grit into him, into the vocals. You can kind of feel his anger because what he's talking about. You know, the topic is a bit down, but this song is definitely a banger. His vocals can definitely get you hype here. A great song from Amaru's Son. I'm looking forward to the project he has coming up. I'll review some of his earlier projects because he's definitely one I've been having on rotation lately, but I just wanted to speak on this single. Really, really good. Next song here is a song by Ajax called Tic Tac. This is obviously a pretty small kid. I'd assume he's 10, so I'm going to go pretty easy on him. If you're watching this, you know, I think you have an okay flow, but I think it's a very generic flow. He can't really sell anything he's saying. His singing isn't really great. It's more melodic flows. It's a pretty below average song. But hey, you know, the fact that you're doing this at such a young age, I guess keep grinding. But I was really just looking for self-promoters, seeing what they got, and this ain't nothing special. Alright, next song here is Sky Slump Freestyle. The beat really does the heavy lifting here. It's a hard-hitting beat. Shout out to the producer. The melody's really off-kilter and entertaining. The drums hit really hard. However, Sky here, he's a bit too quiet, so you can't really hear him over the hard-hitting beat, and his flows feel a bit offbeat at some portions. Definitely a bit of a banger just due to the beat alone, but Sky doesn't do anything to help it. He really is just hurting his own song. He's honestly the worst aspect of the track here, which isn't a really good sign as a producer, as a rapper I mean. But, you know, great production, but not great at anything else. Next song here is a song by Avo, I don't know quite how to say his name. It's called Love Blind. It's production by Midlow, and this is a pretty generic emo rap song. However, I actually kind of enjoyed this one. Avo has a nice flow, although generic. He flows really nice over a simplistic guitar beat, and it's nothing special, but having a nice flow and having an okay beat can go a really long way to make an okay song. I definitely can replay this one. This is a very, very decent song. I'd say this is one of his, one of the better songs I reviewed thus far in the video, definitely. And even though there isn't much vocal effects on his voice, he definitely is working, you know, with a bunch of raw materials here. He comes out with a pretty decent song and a pretty enjoyable one, so I fuck with it. Next track is Old School by Doozy. This one, a pretty laid-back track. His voice, in my opinion, is a bit too low. It's not mixed very well, not mixed well at all. The beat, however, is really good, really laid-back, and his flow is pretty chill as well. He's coming across as a pretty chill rapper here, and this song very laid-back. You can just sit back to it, and I think for its purpose, it does its job pretty well. Not as well as it could have. It had some better mixing, some better flows in some places, but overall I think the song is a pretty good, just laid back, chill. That's the vibe he was going for, and I think he nails it to a certain degree. I think he has a good amount of potential. This is his first song. Nice job. Next song here is Visco Girls by Lil Fiji. Fun one here, feels like a song that maybe could go viral on TikTok as a meme, and I think that's what he was going for here. The beat by Bluesome, really energetic, bouncy, fun, and Lil Fiji's flow, although pretty generic, he matches the beat, and it comes across as really catchy, and it definitely can get stuck on your head. You know, it doesn't feel as, you know, unorganized and unclear as his earlier work. This stuff kind of feels clear to the point what it wants to do, and the song really benefits from that. The production, to the vocals, to the flow, everything is kind of going towards this one vibe. There's no confusion here, and he comes together with a pretty decent song in my opinion. Although the flows aren't that, you know, inspired, the content not that inspired, content sometimes a bit a bit annoying in how, you know, immature it is, but, you know, I think it does its job pretty well. pretty good track. Next song is Lean featuring Lil Fiji by Young Flex. I was pretty critical of Young Flex's project, but this song, kind of catchy. Chorus, he's a bit better being on beat. You can visibly tell, not audibly tell. You can't really see that he's on beat. You can audibly tell he's more on beat. However, still feels a bit off in the flows, that he's not really working with the beat as well as he should. Fiji's verse is okay here, I guess. It's nothing too special, but I feel like the verse here, this first verse from Young Flex, pretty catchy. You know, and he's all about the point at your eyes, a laser beam, kill that bitch with a beam. Like, that part, it's catchy. His flow, it's pretty generic, but again, pretty catchy. I think this is a pretty average song. Nothing bad, nothing good here. Kind of right in the middle. I said that wrong. There are some good aspects, there are some bad aspects, but it kind of bounces out to get an average song. Pretty good from Young Flex here. Next song, we're staying in Token, YDN Kev, Gabe Trip. Really good song here. It's mellow, but at the same time has a bit of bounce to it. The beat has a Playboy Cardi type melody, maybe a Playboy Cardi style beat, but Kev's flow here is really laid back. His voice is really good here. He comes across well. His voice is deep, but also feels really relaxed. At the same time, has a little bit of intensity to it, a little bit of emotion in it, and it comes together for a song that's mellow, but at the same time you can really bounce to it. It fits a bunch of boxes, but at the same time it doesn't really outstay its welcome in any way or tries to do too many things. It is working well for what it is, and it is a lot of things, but it doesn't really go too far in one area or too little in another area. It feels just right. Really solid single. I can understand why this thing has racked up a bunch of plays for Kev. Nice track. Here we have a song by Xavier Chambers called Top Down. This one has a bit of an inspirational feel to it. The beat with the pianos feels a bit, I'd say generic, but generic in a way that's kind of wholesome. His cadence is here for a bunch of the singing parts where he's more animated. Sounds a lot like Meek Mill. Meek Mill's on the cover, so I don't know if that was an obvious inspiration, but his rapping voice is a bit deeper, way deeper, and it's actually pretty entertaining. He has a decent flow, and you know, I think it's a pretty generic song. I think it's a good song though. I think it has a bunch of good aspects to it. Nothing too special. I'm not gonna act like this is the best song ever, but you know, it does its job well, and it gets its job done. So I'd say it's a pretty good song. Next song is 76 by R.A.B. This one, okay song, I guess. The melody is pretty entertaining, a bit unique with the synths. It's very unique, I'd say. Sounds a little bit like Mercedes by Blockway JB production-wise, but it's unique enough that it stands on its own. It's not a legitimate copy or him rapping over the exact same beat. But this one, it's nice, but his flow here, it's not mixed great, and it's pretty generic, so I'd have to give this one an average score. I wouldn't say this is, you know, the cream of the crop or the worst of the worst, and I said this a few times, but you know, there's nothing really here that he does, the rapper R.I.B., to enhance the beat. His flows aren't great. His lyrics aren't anything they're going to stand out on you. So I'd say this is a pretty average track. Next track here, the final track we're going to review is Bluesome's Betrayed featuring Ross Jones. The production here, by the way, is really nice. It has a nice feel to it, a darker, grittier feel, but at the same time, has a lot of magnitude to it, in my opinion. The earlier flow of Bluesome's song, I would say it's a bit too slow. I feel like he could have done more, maybe with some ad-libs or some more vocal effects to give his voice some more charisma, because in the beginning that slow flow just feels a bit boring, but then past the 40-second mark, when that production starts hitting and he speeds up the flow, the song becomes way more interesting. And the chorus by Ross here with those vocals, it's pretty haunting in my opinion. I really like that. And after the first chorus, when Bluesome comes in with that beat kicking in and out and that flow, that persistent dun, that's a really fire segment. Really fuck with this track. Really excited for this album he's got coming out October 11th. Definitely gonna review it. Really solid track here. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this video. I know it was a really long one, but hopefully you enjoyed it. For all the artists out there, make sure, you know, you submit your work, let me review it. I'm gonna be honest, but hopefully I can get some new ears on your shit. Everyone who was reviewed, thank you for, you know, putting out this music for me to review. And I hopefully you can take this critique in stride, and I'll be keeping up with you. Hit me up anytime for me to review your work. My SoundCloud will be in the top of the description. Just message me there with your tracks. I will review it. I will review it. I'm telling you. This was a really fire video in my opinion, and I hope y'all really enjoyed it. See you guys later. Peace.